Sunraysia prune juice is made from Australia's finest prunes and tastes delicious. And just one serving is an excellent source of dietary fibre and vitamin C. Sunraysia will donate 15 pence per litre bottle of Sunraysia prune juice to the Cancer Research Campaign.
Ah, Rapunzel, my cupcake, does I love a boy?
Wait a moment, darling. I'll just let my hair down.
Too short by a hair's breadth.
Then you'll just have to wait for my hair to grow.
What? I'll have gone bald by then.
Well, hair day, gone tomorrow.
All you need is a Red Bull.
Why? Because Red Bull gives you wings.
Yes, but it also stimulates the mind, so get downstairs and open the blooming door. Something's coming.
Something deadly.
What was that?
Something notorious.
Superstitions will resemble the truth.
Something's in here with us.
Something alien.
I have harnessed the power and knowledge of alien civilization.
Jürgen Prognau.
I have created a scientific miracle.
The thriller. The chiller.
What is that?
Beware.
It's moving in.
DNA. Next Monday at 9 on 5.
I hereby sentence you to 6 years.
Now, I know many of you think you are badasses. If you give us a hard time, I guarantee you one long stay in hell.
Innocence means nothing.
You be cool and everything be everything.
Survival is everything.
Don't you know it's only going to get worse unless you take him out?
Tom Selleck.
What the hell is going on when the police can do whatever they feel like? Can't get away with it.
An Innocent Man, Tuesday at 9 on 5.
Might I suggest you start the day the 5 News and Sport way at 6 a.m? Till then...
Yes, indeed, it's the NFL update. It is week 4. Welcome along. Mike Carlson's here. He got game. And without further ado, let's see this week's headlines. The Mile High Magic has become the Mile High Misery as the Broncos go down again. Kurt Warner rams home the message. 3 more TDs as he creates history. Another Titanic struggle as Tennessee go down in the Battle of the Bay. And we look forward to a Monday night matchup in Miami. Yes, indeed, chock-a-block as ever. And interestingly enough, Mike, it's loads of matchups in there that kind of go to form, but great action.
Yeah, it was a great week that way. My shock of the week pick before the weekend was San Diego to beat Kansas City, and they duly did, but it's hardly a surprise. I mean, it's hardly a big upset. Teams are pretty much playing to form. You don't have any really great teams standing out right now. You've got a couple of really bad teams to make things interesting, but, you know, we almost have reached parity already.
Weird, that one, isn't it? That's the way it seems to be going. That's right. And as I mentioned earlier on, Game of the Week will feature Miami. They're not going to be featured now, obviously, but here are the rest of the 100%ers.
The reborn Rams rolled into Cincinnati. Al-Zahir Hakim couldn't have been more alone in the end zone if he was president of the Bruce Coslet fan club. 7-3 Rams. Kurt Warner and Hakim hooked up again after a fake end around. Warner found Hakim downfield. Artrell Hawkins couldn't even be bothered to make the tackle. It was 21-3 Rams. But Hakim wasn't finished. He took one of Will Bryce's 8 punts and made a lot of Bengals look like tabby cats. They fall all over themselves. Will Bryce windmills around. Hakim alone was leading the Bengals 21-3 at this point. The Rams' lead was 28-3. But the man wasn't done yet. An 18-yard pass from Warner, his 4th touchdown, still in the 3rd quarter. It was 25-3 Rams, the final 38-10. A great performance from the 4th-round draft pick I said was one of the steals of last year's draft. The Titans traveled transcontinentally to take on the traditionally tough 49ers, and Eddie George turned a little swing pass from Neil O'Donnell into a 54-yard touchdown and a 10-0 lead in the second quarter. Steve Young was still missing with a concussion, but Jeff Garcia put his head down for a touchdown. Lucky he didn't hit anybody. Garcia did hit Charlie Garner from 21 yards out to put the Niners up 14-10 at halftime. Then leading 17-13 in the second half, Garcia hit Terrell Owens with a 22-yard touchdown to up the lead to 11 points. And after an El Del Greco field goal, O'Donnell again turned to his old Steelers teammate Yancey Thigpen to bring the Titans within 2. But a 2-point conversion failed, and San Francisco won 24-22. Jeff Garcia is thinking this is easier than the CFL. Key stat, Eddie George only 26 yards rushing in 15 carries. The Browns treated their home fans to something different, a lead as Tim Couch and Kevin Johnson teamed up for a touchdown for the third week in a row. 44, Mark Edwards threw a great block as Johnson went 64 yards for the score. After 2 Adam Vinatieri field goals in the second quarter, Terry Allen's 3-yard touchdown run put New England up 13-7 in the third. And then Drew Bledsoe hit Terry Glenn over the middle, and Terry Glenn turned it into a 54-yard touchdown as New England continued their second half surge. A 19-7 win for the still undefeated Pats. And if the Big Tuna was watching, Glenn had a big day. She caught 13 passes for 214 yards. Another good day for Bledsoe as well. Think the Dallas Cowboys wanted revenge for last year's playoff loss to Arizona. George Teague starts celebrating this interception even before the last tacklers have hit him. But that put Dallas up early. Troy Aikman then hit Michael Irvin from 18 to make it 14-0 Cowboys in the first quarter. And then Aikman found the rocket. Raghib Ismail on a 63-yard pass to make it 21-0. And what a difference a rocket makes. Third quarter now leading 21-7, and watch Larry Allen get out there on a beautiful wide receiver screen. Tommy Bennett's so glad to dodge Allen that he forgets to tackle Raghib Ismail. He's down on the 1-yard line, but Emmitt Smith goes in on the next play to make it 28-7. Then Greg Ellis fell on a Jake Plummer fumble. He played possum, got up to run 98 yards untouched for the final touchdown. Ellis played a little bit of tight end in college. Not that you'd know it by the way he's legging it out here. Looks more like a halfback. Cowboys win 35-7, and the last time the Cowboys started a season 3-0 was 1995, and they went on to win the Super Bowl.
I'm not sure if Mike made a very loaded point at the end there. We'll discover in a second's time. But Greg Ellis, I mean, you know, tremendous move and all that business, but a bit boring and predictable by our standards.
Well, we see it all the time. That's right. Let's go back.
Mr. Natural, isn't he?
Dallas against Atlanta, right down on the goal line again. This is where Greg Ellis really stars. Great quickness for a defensive end. Look at that, just pulls the ball down. He checks out where the tacklers are coming from. Never even worries about Chris Chandler in front of him. And there he is, gone for another touchdown, 96 yards, if I remember right.
The great thing is you see him physically running out of steam at the end. Like, the last 3 yards are always too much for him, whatever he does.
That's why they time him in 40 yards and not 100 yards.
He's a 98-yard man, no more. That's absolutely, definitely the case. All right, OK, who's impressing you here of all the teams who have got 0 against them?
Well, you know, it's funny because New England is undefeated, but I haven't really been impressed by what they've done. They do come back in the second half strong, though, of every game they've played. Dallas has looked pretty good, but remember, Washington basically let them back into that game in the first week that they won. And St. Louis hasn't really played anybody good yet, but they're in a weak division all season. Next week, they play San Francisco. That's going to be a good test for both those teams. Kurt Warner, ex-Amsterdam Admiral. I just love this guy. And nobody has started off with his first 2 starts, 6 touchdown passes in the NFL since Dan Marino did it. They're the only 2 guys who've ever done it.
All right, so it's still, the jury's still a little bit out on the people who've only got 0 against their name. And as Mike was saying to us there, Garcia He did okay, which means Steve Young won't be coming back with a bandage around his helmet. Not too quickly anyway. Perhaps for next week, you never know. OK, the conference season continues, as you know, up in Blackpool and all over the country. However, here's last year's Final Four, who are this year's disastrous 1-11.
Chris Chandler's still out, and Tony Graziani found out why. Peter Boulware sacks Graziani, and he fumbles. Robbie Tobeck says, if I can't eat it, I'm not falling on it. The Ravens recover, and Matt Stover's 38-yard field goal gives Baltimore a 3-0 lead. Another tackle would put Graziani out of the game. After 2 Morton Anderson field goals, Jamie German took a shovel pass from Danny Gulp Cannell, whose range now extends to 5 yards underhand. But German did some jammy running for a 30-yard touchdown and a 13-3 Atlanta lead. But the Ravens had Stoney on the case, and he tossed up one. Pat Johnson brought it down for a 52-yard touchdown to make it 13-10. Replacing Jamal Anderson, Byron Hanspard fumbled. Kim Herring recovered for Baltimore, and another Matt Stover field goal from 26 tied the game and sent it into overtime. But then Stoney Case looked deep again. This time Justin Armour was the star. 54-yard touchdown and a 19-13 win for Modell's men. The Atlanta Falcons fall to 0-4. Ray Lewis, 10 tackles for the Ravens, including the one that put Tony Graziani out of the game. The Super Bowl winners, the Broncos, entertained another team without their best quarterback, but Rick Meyer just gave Keyshawn Johnson the ball, and that 26-yard touchdown put the Jets up 7-3. Chris Watson's 71-yard kickoff return then put Denver in a position to retake the lead. The rookie from Eastern Illinois showing a good burst down the sideline. Denver did take the lead on Terrell Davis's 1-yard touchdown. But then Victor Green picked off a Brian Greasy pass. It was Green's first of 2 interceptions on the day, but the play turned even worse for the Broncos as Terrell Davis fell over teammate Matt Lepsis, who was tackling Green. Davis tore his ACL and his MCL. He's out for the season. No John Elway, no Terrell Davis, and no miracles in sight for Mike Shanahan. With the Jets up 14-13 in the fourth quarter, Meyer hit Dedrick Ward for a 16-yard touchdown that sealed it for the Jets. The Broncos fall to 0-4. Both Super Bowl teams combined are 0-8. 3 interceptions of Brian Greasy, 2 in his many series for Bubby Brister. Watch out for Chris Miller next week. Minnesota was coming off a tough loss to Green Bay, and they knew they needed to get Randy Moss involved again. So 5 minutes into the game, Randall Cunningham did just that. 61 yards, 7-0 Vikings, and fear in opposing defensive backs' hearts. 4 minutes later, Randall hit Randy over the middle, and with the space they give you in case you turn upfield, well, you can turn upfield. 27 yards, 14-0. Still in the first quarter, Andrew Glover loses safety John Lynch, and it's 21-0 Minnesota. But Tampa Bay came back in the second quarter. Trent Dilfer hit Dave Moore from 26 to cut the lead to 21-7 at the half. And then the Bucs D seemed to adjust to playing without the injured Warren Sapp. In the fourth quarter, Riddell Anthony did a Randy Moss on Ramos McDonald, stealing the ball away. The 26-yard touchdown cut the margin to 21-14, and Trent Dilfer liked that one so much, we're going to look at it again. The game wasn't decided till the very last play. Trent Dilfer dropped deep. His desperation duck deflected deftly by Robert Griffin to save the game for the Vikings. They win 21-14. And just like last year's NFC Championship game, the Vikings got a big lead early, then didn't do much offensively. Trent Dilfer's best passing game of the season.
Okay, there we go. Well, Mike, you mentioned earlier on that the 4 and 0s are not particularly decisive. How about the 2 0 and 4s then?
Well, you know, it's really terrible, and you can explain the Jets, and you can they've won a game, but you can explain the Jets and you can explain Atlanta because of injuries, and you can explain Denver partly because of Elway going, and now Terrell Davis being gone.
I mean,
he tore the anterior cruciate and the median collateral ligaments, both, and he's got cartilage damage, so he's out for the year.
That just about covers that knee nicely, doesn't
it?
Yeah.
Minnesota was the one team you couldn't really explain, except that they just weren't using Randy Moss like they did last year. They were almost using him as a decoy. And why bother? Because what he does when you run him deep, it just opens up everything else for your whole team. And Randall Cunningham is not a sort of pick them apart kind of quarterback. He likes to go deep. He's got a great arm for throwing deep. So, you know, it worked last year. Why fix it if it ain't broken?
Yeah,
why break it if it ain't fixed?
Either way around. 4 games lost already. Is that virtually disastrous for these two teams?
It means that what you're thinking about really is if you're lucky, you're going to get into the playoffs as a 10-6 team. But you know, if you're Atlanta, you're reeling right now, and you know you're not going to get in the playoffs with Danny Cannell at quarterback. If you're Denver, you've got a real problem. Who's going to play quarterback? Bubby Brister his arm just isn't the way it used to be. Greasy, his receivers are dropping balls for him apart from making mistakes. I still think Chris Miller will be there before the season's
he'll make
over.
it. Yeah, exactly. It's all the fun of the fair. Good stuff already. Okie dokie, when we come back, of course, we've got more action for you, plus also we throw forward to our game of the week, which is tomorrow night. But now, here's a warning against smoking in the locker room from the NFL.
The locker room's on fire!
All right, boys, let's play some football.
Celebrate 100 years of London's glorious history with the Evening Standard Centenary City, a stunning 10-part photographic record of the greatest city in the world. Also starting a free video offer for every reader. Collect Centenary City Part 1 free with tomorrow's 20p Evening Standard.
If you're not sure where to turn for savings or a pension, it may be reassuring to know we've been finding our way successfully through the financial markets for 180 years. Scottish Widows, looking good for your money.
Call the live 1-to-1 girls now on 09066 400 800. That's 09066 400 800.
Welcome back. Plenty more Week 4 action still for you to come this evening. But before we press on with the football, there's some other great American sport knocking about here on Channel 5 for you. And on Wednesday night, we begin the playoffs in the baseball. Yes, indeed. MLB 99 playoffs, Wednesday night's game, AL Division Series as C, best of 5. Boston Red Sox, Mike Carlson is delighted to hear at the Cleveland Indians from 12:25 a.m. here, of course, on 5. But 5 has more. Oh, yes, it has a lot more. That's right, we are back, and we mean some business on the ice. Thursday night, the NHL, it begins.
He's not just all world, he could be all universe. Dominic Hasek.
He does it
It's back, another historic year of NHL, as they say there. It'll be myself and Todd will be here. Detroit Red Wings at the Atlanta Thrashers, the new franchise team. Thursday night, 12:15 here on Channel 5. Cracking action for you, but it doesn't stop, because here we go with some really big AFC matchups.
At Three Rivers, Jacksonville got on the board first as Keenan McCardell caught a 7-yard touchdown from Mark Brunell. After Steeler rookie Chris Brown kicked a 48-yard field goal, Tony Brackens recovered a Cordell Stewart fumble. And with Coach Bill Cowher wondering whether it's Dr. Cordell or Mr. Hyde who's playing quarterback for the Steelers, it set up a Mike Hollis field goal from 27 yards, which gave the Jaguars a 10-3 lead at the half. Tom Coughlin never looks happy, but in the fourth quarter, Jacksonville tried to make him that way. Stewart fumbled through the end zone when Bracken sacked him. The safety made it 15-3 Jags. And then a second sack, this one by Joel Sminga, made the final score 17-3 Jacksonville. The first time the visiting team has ever won a game in this series between the two teams. An awful day for Mark Brunell. Where's their passing game gone? Fred Taylor got hurt again. Not much from Jerome Bettis either. The Chiefs got off to a quick lead in San Diego as Joe Horn took a 31-yard pass from Elvis Gerbach for a touchdown. And watch Joe blow his own horn. Would you call that dance a hornpipe? Elvis then hit Tony Gonzalez to up the lead to 14-0, and we're still in the first quarter. Elvis is thinking, Viva San Diego. Eric Kramer replaced the injured Jim Harbaugh, and Natron Means put the Chargers on the board, 14-7 Kansas City. Then Kramer hit former Rhine Fire star Kenny Bynum for an 11-yard touchdown to tie the score. And no, Kramer wasn't doing those fakes in slow motion. In the third quarter, Kramer hit Chris Penn from 11 to put San Diego up 21-14. And don't be cruel, Chris, because that's the way it ended. The Chargers had Elvis all shook up with 4 interceptions, 2 by Darrell Lewis. Eric Kramer didn't complete many apart from those 2 touchdowns. The Raiders went to Seattle, and Tyrone Wheatley put the men in black up 7-0. And yes, I know they wear white on the road. Rich Gannon's touchdown pass to Tim Brown put Oakland up 14-3 early in the second quarter. But John Kitna hit Derek Mays from 29 yards out, and that cut the Raiders' lead to 14-9. In the third quarter, trailing 21-9, Kitna scrambled and then threw across the field to Reggie Brown, who went 21 yards for the score. Seattle closing within 5 points. 2 Todd Peterson field goals gave Seattle the lead, but Michael Husted's 61-yard try fell 1 yard short as the game ended. Seattle win 22-21. Oakland's lost 2 games by a total of 5 points, and Seattle 3 wins, but none of them very impressive.
Okay, we'll see the action numbers in a moment's time. We might go through the standings, but the AFC West looking colourful, isn't it?
Well, you know, with Denver at 0-4, it makes it wide open, and there's 4 teams there. This is the NFL in a picture. The teams that you expected to be really good have fallen off, and nobody's really stepping up to take their place. I mean, if Seattle had Joey Galloway, I'd say they'd be the favorites, but they really miss him. He opens up their offense the same way Tony Martin did for Atlanta. Oakland has played very well, but they've lost 2 close games. A guy who used to play for the Frankfurt Galaxy, K.D. Williams, is playing great at linebacker for Oakland. He couldn't even start in Frankfurt a couple of years ago. And just by the way, you mentioned Steve Young's concussion. Another ex-Frankfurt player, Pat Barnes, has just signed with San Francisco as a backup quarterback. He took Frankfurt to the World Bowl this year as one of alternating quarterbacks.
That would be a rise up through the ranks, wouldn't it, if he managed to step into Steve Young's shoes, if he could pull that one off.
Alternating with Jake Delhomme one moment and then stepping in for Steve Young the next.
Yeah, it happens all the time, doesn't it, that kind of thing. But you're right, there's no one can really take advantage in that division yet, is there?
No, and I think that's really the story around the league.
Yes,
you know, there's a lot of balance there, and there's a few teams that are awful. The really good teams aren't playing the way they should, and if one team gets hot, catches an easy schedule, I mean, Oakland's got the toughest schedule in the league, so that works against them. But you catch a few easy games, you get 1 or 2 good performances, all of a sudden you've run off 6 wins, and you might have a playoff spot clinched by week 10 or 11.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's keeping it all colourful. Okay, there's 3 more games to go, and these are they.
Coach Ditka returned to Soldier Field, and his Saints marched ahead in the second quarter as Billy Joe Hobart toppled into the end zone on a quarterback draw. Hobart suffered a neck sprain and didn't return. Billy Joe Tolliver only managed to add 3 to the Saints' lead, and then Curtis Conway took a Shane Matthews pass 22 hard yards for a score with less than 2 minutes left. With time running out, Conway did it again, turning another short pass into a 30-yard gain and stopping the clock. Then Conway caught a 6-yard game winner with 7 seconds to play. The Bears win 14-10, and the new, kinder, gentler Coach Ditka is not a happy man. A great day for Curtis Conway, or a great last 2 minutes at least. Billy Joe Tolliver, nothing much in relief of Billy Joe Hobart. In the Metroliner Bowl, Kent Graham and Ike Hilliard gave the homestanding Giants a 7-0 lead at Jimmy Hoffa Field, a.k.a. the Meadowlands. Our Dilfer of the Week award goes to Jason Sehorn, who runs like Foghorn Leghorn, then laterals this interception. It turns into an Eagles safety. Jim Fossil's waiting to see if he can challenge Sehorn's spot on the roster. Better sorry than safety, says the referee. Kent Graham tossed his second touchdown of the game, this one to the Eagles' Bobby Taylor, just to keep things interesting. After Graham had proved himself to be Philadelphia's best offensive player, throwing another 2 interceptions, Kerry Collins came in, and Collins remembered who Ike Hilliard was. This 28-yard gain put the Giants into scoring position. They almost didn't score, but Brad Deluiso hit a 23-yard field goal, which turned into the game winner as the Giants win over Philadelphia 16-15. Well, I guess someone had to win that game. The Eagles managed only 174 yards offense. The Giants had 3 interceptions and 6 fumbles and still won. Michael Strahan's 3 sacks helped. Tim Biakabatuka had our play of the week last week, and how about this one this week? 60 yards for a touchdown and a 7-0 lead in Washington. He makes it look easy. Biakabatuka got his 3rd touchdown of the first quarter. Yes, that's 3rd touchdown. A 45-yard run through a hole as wide as Todd Macklin, and it was 21-0 Panthers. Trailing 24-7, Brad Johnson hit Michael Westbrook from 17, and that made it 24-14, Panthers up. But then Brad and Mike connected again from 11 yards out, and then Albert Cannell, 62 yards for the touchdown, and Washington led 28-24, and we're still in the first half. Early in the third quarter, Johnson and Cannell took it easy from 32 yards away, and all of a sudden it was 35-24 Redskins. But Carolina clawed their way back and then took the lead at 36-35 on Wesley Wall's 6-yard pass from Steve Berline. Walls got up limping, but with 6 seconds to play, Brett Conway's 31-yard field goal gave Washington a 38-36 win. The Panthers are losing some heartbreakers this season, and the Skins are winning some shootouts. And Tim Biakabatuka has touchdown runs of 62, 67, 61, and 45 yards in his last 2 games. And looking at the standings around the league, New England and Miami still unbeaten in the East. Miami, of course, plays Buffalo in our Monday night matchup tomorrow night. Indianapolis still 2-1. In the Central, Tennessee and Jacksonville at 3-1, Pittsburgh and Baltimore at 2-2. Cincinnati and Cleveland play each other this coming week, and someone has to win. And in the West, Seattle with a half-game lead over San Diego, Kansas City and Oakland at 2-2, and those hapless Denver Broncos at 0-4. In the NFC, Dallas all of a sudden unbeaten in the NFC East, and they and Washington are going to run away with this division based on current form. Everybody's in it in the Central. Detroit and Green Bay didn't play this week. This is one of those where they said whoever wants to lead the division step forward, and the other guys all step back. That left Detroit and Green Bay in front. And finally, in the NFC West, the unbeaten Rams will play San Francisco next week. That should be a good one. New Orleans, Carolina, 1 win each, and Atlanta, nothing at all.
So you go, there's all the numbers of, in relation to what we've been chatting about all evening, and the NFC looks to be a colourful one, doesn't it? I mean, that's all over the shop, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean the Central especially, great division where, apart from the Bears, I would say 4 of those 5 teams have a chance to be in there in the end. The West, are the Rams for real? If they are, it's a very weak division, and they could go a long way. And Washington and Dallas, the rematch of their Week 1 match should be a good one.
And obviously the Testaverde factor as well has opened up the East as well, which is the way it's been kept nice and interesting in there. Okay, Hakeem, you mentioned him, you said he was a player to watch, and you weren't wrong, was you? And you picked him as your player of the week.
It was. I mean, I love this guy when he came out of San Diego State, and watch this punt return because it's a beauty. What's going to happen, what makes it work, is that he's going to fumble the ball when it comes in. And if we start rolling it now, you'll see the fumble is going to stop the 3 guys on coverage for just a second while they see what happens. And now if you stop it right there, see those 3 guys? Well, what's going to happen is Steve Bush is just going to get beaten by Hakeem on speed, and Lawrence Wright is going to come in and just take care of number 40,